welcome everyone to the JDC West 2016 Human Resource Case Presentation. Thank you to our judges, Heather Ryan from Federate Cooperative Limited, Cheryl Carver, the Associate VP of Human Resources at the University of Saskatchewan, Louise Brier from Federate Cooperative Limited, Paula Senorita Tebicone from Mount Royal University, Marianne Neutscher from K+S Potash Canada, and Kavita Britton from Potash Corp. Competitors will have a maximum of 20 minutes to present. Immediately following the presentation, judges will have a total of 5 minutes to ask questions. The volunteer timekeeper will show time cards at various intervals to indicate the remaining time and will stop any speaker that goes beyond this time. No questions, comments, cell phones, or pictures may be taken by the audience at any time. The audience will only be permitted to applaud following the Q&A. The audience is banned from any material that bears the name or symbol of a competing university, and we ask that the audience exit through the door following the Q&A. Can we begin?
Good afternoon, Mr. Cook. My name is Jody Ray, and these are my colleagues, Kat Boodle and Eric Paulson, and we make up JEC Consulting. We'd like to thank you for being here today. You've just added 500 new members to your workforce. That's almost 1/3 of your previous workforce, making you one of the top consulting companies in North America. We want you to be able to use this strength moving forward. So we've come up with a successful strategy for you to be able to integrate these two new teams together under one roof to achieve new avenues of growth. To show you how to do this, I'll be taking you through the agenda. I'll be identifying the problem identification. Eric will then be taking you through the analysis. Kat will then be doing a recommendation and implementation, and I'll be following up with risks, mitigations, and the conclusion. We'll dive right into the problem identification. Here's the structure of the problems that we have identified, which I will go into further depth in the following slides. For the primary problem, we've identified change management and integration. These are two completely different cultures and structures that are coming together from the Halcyon Group and the Pareto Group. That being said, we have come up with a strategy for you to successfully integrate these two cultures together so that they can work together in order to achieve those avenues of growth for your company. For the secondary problem, we have identified keeping the Halcyon projects live. So this includes bringing those clients that the Halcyon employees, or ex-Halcyon employees, are currently working on and bringing that revenue over to your company. This is important because it can bring in $92 million in revenue, which is almost 30% of what you currently had last year. This will give you new opportunities for training programs, as well as the ability to adjust your pay scale in the future if need be. The second problem that we have identified for this is the future engagement process. So this is being able to have those two different workforces coming together and creating teams for them to be able to work together in order to maintain those old clients that you have, bring in the new clients, as well as attract new business in the future. Eric will now be taking you through the analysis.
Thank you so much, Jody. And I'm just going to be building on what Jody has previously stated in our primary and secondary problems. So one of the first analysis tools that we used today was an internal and external stakeholder analysis. And when we look at our internal analysis, we see that we have our previous ex-Halcyon employees, our current Pareto employees, but also we have to consider our partners and the overall culture within our firm today. And as such, we see that we have unhappy ex-Halcyon employees due to the survey that you handed out. While they are satisfied with the efficiency and market direction that you have at Pareto, they are not satisfied in terms of governance, the workplace culture, and where they move forward because they do not feel supported as current employees because they have seen this as a liability because they need work, so you were there to pick them up. Beyond this, there's major transparency issues because you have not released the two different pay scales. And if you are, you can take it one of two ways. You can either keep the pay scale the same for all Pareto employees, as you have already signed these 500 employees over, or you can make a difference between the two different groups, depending on how you use them. And when we look at our external stakeholders, you did recruit employees from a company that did have a bit of a fraudulent exposure. You had 15 employees at Halcyon who were involved in bribery, and as such, the public doesn't know how far this tank goes and if there are more than just 15 employees involved. So to your external stakeholders, this is a threat. Now we're going to look at the two different governance issues that we have here today. Because with Halcyon, we were used to a flatter structure. We had 4-man autonomous teams, and as such, you would have a consultant who would be the lowest ranking member of that team, working on equal footing with a partner or a business development officer. Whereas here at Pareto, you have 7 of these consultants working with higher ranking individuals within the group. And as such, this does create issues in terms of team cohesiveness and the creative ideas that flow from this. And we believe through addressing both of these team issues and the autonomy associated with them, we can create not only a new team here at Pareto, but a team that will be more productive, more efficient, and more linked together. And as such, from this, we have developed 3 decision criteria that address this. And when we look here, just to my right, we have adaptability coming in first. And then adaptability, we believe, needs to be done through integrating technology and future solutions. As such, we have transparency, so we can describe what our pay scales will be now and in the future. And then finally, we have growth, because in reality, you did not take in these 500 employees, or almost a third of your previous workforce, just to be kind. You took them in to make a profit, that $105 million profit, actually. And as such, that needs to be weighed into our decision criteria. And that is weighed in at 0.3% or 30% of our decision. We have our transparency at 0.3, but adaptability is the most heavily weighted at 40%, because as such, if you can't adapt to what is happening within your own organization, it will implode, much like Halcyon. And with that being said, we have developed 3 different avenues that you can go down in order to combat these issues. The first one is you can sign 1-year contracts. While you have signed on these Halcyon employees to work here at Pareto, you have not actually determined how long they will work there. If it's just going to be this 2-week period that they have been now, or are they going to quit in this 3rd week? We suggest with this avenue of success, you actually get them to sign a 1-year contract where they stay with Pareto for a minimum of a year before leaving, and at the end of that year, they can choose whether or not to be loyal employees and integrate into the culture. Finally, we have our complete transparency option, where you open up the 2 different wage scales, and as such, integrate everybody into the Pareto wage scale. Because if you give these Halcyon employees a raise, or if you transition them down, the discontent among your own company will only continue. And then finally, we have something called the Focus Division Creation, which is a 1-year division creation plan where you actually make a new division, which compromises of half Halcyon employees and half Pareto employees based on who is admitted into the program. And within this program, we want to communicate our future plan developments, our client developments, and finally, how we plan to engage employees in the future as well. And we're going to weigh these 3 different avenues with those decision criteria mentioned earlier in a matrix just shown here. So on the top scale here, you see decision criteria at the top left. And as such, you have adaptability, transparency, and growth falling in that order to total at the bottom. Now, each of these criterion was weighted on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 fulfilling that criterion and 1 not fulfilling that criterion. If we look at our 1-year trial program, we see through adaptability, it is ranked a 2. While it is adaptive to the short term, it doesn't consider medium-term and long-term growth, and as such, ranks a 2 out of 5. Going down, we see transparency. This is completely transparent. You have signed them to a contract, and you have shown them through your corporate culture that you want them to finish the work with that $105 million as soon as possible. And as such, we believe it does rank a 4 out of 5. Does it show the best side of Pareto? Absolutely not. But as such, it is being transparent. And in terms of growth, it does help your revenues, and as such, this has been given again a 2 out of 5. When we consider our complete transparency issue, is it adaptive? Yes. It's allowing you more so to keep your business with Halcyon, but at the same time, it allows you to maybe keep a third, 50% of those employees simply because they have nowhere else to go currently. And finally, we have our Focus Division Engagement Program. Here we have adaptability at 4 out of 5, because we believe through this program, not only will you be able to integrate these new employees into a division, but take everybody that's at Pareto and engage them further so they can strive to be more than what they currently are and give them new avenues of growth if they can't find one currently where they're situated. And then we see it at transparency. We will release the full pay scales when we roll out this program because we believe as a company and as a firm, Pareto, you have done this in the future and you will do it now as well. And with finally our growth, we see that as a 4 out of 5 because while we cannot guarantee that you will achieve future profits, we do guarantee that you will achieve success with this program. And as such, has ranked 4.3 out of 5 and is the best strategy moving forward. Now, Catherine's going to be leading you through exactly how we're going to do that today.
Thank you very much, Eric. One thing I think is very important to reiterate is that you can have 2 companies that have joined together in one. Both have very successful and very different corporate cultures. one thing we noticed going through this analysis is that we want to capitalize on both of these corporate cultures, as well as integrating them into one. So with that, I will take you through our recommendation. At first, we have the creating of a new division. We're calling this Focus because we want to be able to integrate the best of both team members from both Halcyon and Pareto. The program is a new division that takes together both the best assets that you have through an internal hiring process to create more revenue streams and greater growth. Secondly, we have a communication plan we think is very important. You have definitely seen some of your current and new employees having issues with this new integration process. We want to make sure that you communicate to them effectively these changes that are going to happen, as well as how they fit into that new change. And thirdly, we have a 6-month engagement program trial. So this is really important for the current and new employees who do not want to take place in this new Focus program. This is to be able to integrate them into the mainstream 5 different units, 5 different divisions you currently have, and allowing them to both have that mentorship program as you've already put in place, while the extra step up so they're integrating into the team aspect that is so highly well known of Pareto to be able to be successful. Moving forward, here's an overview of the communication plan. Your key stakeholders include your external stakeholders. These are people that you work for and have your contracts for. They want to know, are we tainted by your scandal? So because you've taken on these new members and you have these wonderful new people, and we want to make sure that your external stakeholders have an understanding that the people who are now integrated into this program were not at all a part of the scandal, and you have full faith and trust in them, as well as the processes that you have in place. Partners. So will there be a structure change, and will the scandal affect our reputation? Similarly, we want to be able to communicate that no, it will not. The people you have hired are the best in the business. They were your biggest competitor. The structure change, we will have a fair amount of structure change in terms of the Focus division. However, we want to make the engagement program an integrative program where we do not change the current structure of Pareto. Pareto Consultants, how long will the integration take? Are our jobs at risk, and will new teams be affected? We have noticed that you said that an integration program is not a short-term program. It will not take 2 to 5 months. It will take 2 to 5 years. So we want to make sure that the program that we have in place is for your long-term development and growth, to make sure that you are both prosperous and you have the future revenue streams. And finally, you do Halcyon Consultants. These are the new people you have hired on. How long will there be until there's integration? What are our opportunities? We want to make sure that with this new program of Focus and this engagement program, these new employees feel that they can be fully integrated into this as well. So a little bit of overview of what Focus is. Focus is a medium to large value consulting division. It's a combination of Pareto and Halcyon employees. They will have an increased pay scale with more team autonomy. So this is where we're capitalizing on Halcyon's corporate culture and things they did very well, and integrating it into a new and competitive division with both with an internal party of people who have chosen to apply and go through this process to work integratively with new and old employees. The requirements are a minimum of 3 years in consulting and a minimum of 1 year in Pareto. We want to make sure that people are very committed to this program, and a previous projects either finished or wrapping up. We have noticed that Halcyon and past Halcyon employees coming into this current program and into your company have actually brought over old business, and we want to make sure that's wrapped up before they decide to join this new division. So here's a bit of the team structure. You'll have 1 lead business partner, 1 business development consultant, 1 manager consultant, and 4 regular consultants. So a Focus consultant will have a starting salary of $92,000 per year. We feel that this is a competitive rate and will actually give more edge to your employees who want to be a part of this new and integrative division. We want to give more autonomy to these participants as well, and make sure that they have a choice of what projects they pursue. We want the best of the best to be able to be a part of this new division and to do what we can will help grow your company. The engagement program. This is the other leg of our recommendation, where we're looking at the current structure and integrated program, which we have seen has a bit of ups and downs. So we want bi-weekly check-ins to see how project completion is coming along, as well as working relationships. So you have identified that there are mentoring partners within your firm, mentoring new employees, but we want to make sure that team leads are also a part of this program. So making sure that your project team leads are able to connect with their mentees and with the people working under their groups to make sure that things are going smoothly. As well, possibly integrating a secondary team lead. We have seen that there are some problems with current and new employees coming in. So we want to be able to make sure if there's a possibility for a secondary team lead, someone who can be appointed to help make this transition easier. Not only for the new Halcyon employees, but the Pareto employees who have also stated that they see an issue with this new integrating process. And finally, the State of the Union reissuance. We have, in fact, seen the survey results of the reissuance. What has come forth is that Halcyon employees are very happy with how your corporation is structured. However, they have a hard time identifying and feeling accepted into your corporate culture. So we want to be able to reissue the State of the Union over a period of time to look at both sector and personal goals of these employees, as well as integration suggestions of what they feel we have suggested is better and moving forward. Here's a bit of an overview of our implementation. I have stated already that its short term will be between 0 and 1 year, medium term 1 to 2 years, and long term 2 to 5. Again, to reiterate, this is very important because we want to be able to have a long-term program that will integrate it successfully rather than a short-term program which we aren't able to verify the results of. So short-term, we want you within the next month to meet with your board of directors and discuss this recommendation. We want you to roll out this communication plan and make sure you have a very cohesive understanding of what you're going to say to all your key stakeholders. In September, we want you to put together a joint focus group. So these will be 9 people from Halcyon and 9 employees from Pareto who you think are highly valuable. We'll be able to put this new division together over the next year. And review the current moods and create this engagement team. So similarly, 9 people from each the current company and the ex-company together to create this engagement program. Doing this together will help actually create a more integrative program by combining ideas from separate people and hopefully work better together. And that's with collaboration with new and old employees. And in 2016, we want you to review and evaluate. So making sure that this process is going well and the planning is set in place so that this will be a successful strategy. Medium term, we want you to, in the next year or 2, open the focus division as well as applications. So we want to be able to make this a longer term process where this new division is highly sought after and open applications to employees that you have. This also gives Halcyon members time to actually work the full year minimum before they can apply. And you want to continue with the vetting process, and you want to develop relations with Halcyon contacts. So these are people that they have brought in the past within the new company. This is really important because they are a big part of your revenue streams and a big part of your growth strategy. So making sure you foster those relationships is incredibly important. And long-term, 2 to 5 years, you want to continue to monitor and improve. I can't stress this enough. Using the integrative technologies that you have identified has already been put in place, from your microweb to your online survey system. It's really important that you take advantage of these technologies and implement these monitoring improvement systems, so feedback as well as surveys, and identify where these key issues still lie and how they can be improved upon. And team evaluations. How is Focus doing, and can the processes of Focus be integrated into your other divisions as a possibility for creating more integrative teams? And finally, your growth strategy, capitalizing on your new relationships. You've fostered these over a couple of years now, and you have wonderful people in your corner to help you develop and become a better company. So we want you to have an internal monitoring system using new technologies put in place for the integration to evaluate whether or not focus teams can be integrated into mainstream divisions. I will now let Jody take you through your risks and mitigations and the conclusion.
Thank you, Kat. So we've identified some risks and mitigations with our recommendation. The first of which is that the new integrated teams are not cohesive. So this is going to be mitigated by having partner support and also reevaluation of your support program. Second risk that we have is the disgruntled Pareto employees. There is the risk that the culture that you have worked so hard to have will be changed and your employees may not be happy with that. In order to mitigate this, we have the Employee Integration and Mentor Program in order to help those Halcyon employees better incorporate into your Pareto culture that you have. Then the third risk that we have is that the Halcyon clients are not happy with Pareto. So these are the clients that the ex-Halcyon employees are bringing in, and they're not used to the way that Pareto runs. And so in order to mitigate this risk, we want you to do relationship building with these clients and also follow up with them after service has been provided in order to make sure they're happy. Also, include an original Halcyon contact within the teams that are working on these clients so that they know what they're doing and they can pass that on to the Pareto employees. So as you can see, this strategy of creating a new innovative division will be able to maintain your Pareto culture and also ensure that the Halcyon employees are happy and have new opportunities within your company. Thank you, and I'd like to open the floor to questions.
Okay, so in the short term, 0 to 1 year, we're just going to create the focus team. We're going to get people working together. And then 1 to 2 years, we're going to have people apply. I'm kind of confused. So in the immediate term, what's happening? In the 1 to 2 year period, what's happening?
So I'd be happy to walk you through that. So as you can see, in the immediate term, we actually have two things going on. We have both the creation of the focus group, which comprises of 9 employees that were previous at Halcyon and 9 employees that are from Pareto originally, while at the same time rolling out our communication program that not only engages these new Halcyon employees and makes sure that they do have the support due to the feedback that we received, but at the same time, we'll use that feedback to give to the focus group on the same timeline.
Okay, so they're working on projects
They are working on projects.
immediately in these teams.
Yes.
And what are we doing with their compensation?
In terms of
saying we want to increase pay scales, what are we going to do that? We're going to throw them together, right? And we're getting paid different amounts right here.
So currently, as it was stated from the information that you gave us, that all Pareto employees, when you come in as a consultant, for example, are paid in between $70,000 a year to $90,000 a year. As such, it was assumed that these new employees that were hired to Pareto will be paid that same amount under their new contract. And you did not, and it wasn't birdwise, whether or not they were paid the similar wage towards Halcyon.
And now, as a nice segue, are we going to do the projects and contracts immediately when we throw these teams together?
So,
I need to understand that.
So when we do these teams together, after 1 year of it being conjoined, so we'll have the focus group, yes, but in order to actually get into the focus group first, employees that did work at Halcyon will have to have completed their Halcyon contracts. And as such, this requirement of having 1 year of work experience at Pareto will not only ensure that they are engaged and bought into the company, but at the same time, they will start working more collaboratively in smaller groups like they did before with Pareto employees if they pass the requirement process and the vetting process. So if it turns into Halcyon employees having a better advantage of getting into this new focus group, then they will be working with their previous coworkers, yes. But at the same time, it gives the same advantage to Pareto employees as they have been working there for more than a year and they've been have a minimum of 3 years of consulting experience, which is required by Pareto itself.
So, if I understood it correctly, why did you choose a strategy to start this off slow and then integrate it more fully across the organization rather than completely integrating this strategy across the organization?
What we see as very important about the corporate culture is not being able to make so many changes that it already disrupts employees. We have seen that there's so much employee disgruntlement at the moment that we feel will only get bigger if you do a full universal drawout. So again, the engagement program and the focus division. So the focus division, the actual people hired on are creating the division and creating official processes of how the application process goes and who they're going to be working with in terms of outside companies. Doing this on a smaller scale sees how you can develop a small group of people in an integrative way and whether or not it's feasible to do that across the company without disrupting your culture too much.
So that focus division that you're talking about creating, how many employees will be in that focus division?
So we've capped the number of employees in the focus division at 500 employees. The reason we wanted to do this was so we could get a benchmark on the costs associated with it before we wanted to grow. The reason
And then would those 500 employees be by discipline? Because I mean, the guys have worked in mining infrastructure, water, renewable bridges, and the Halcyon employees have come predominantly from oil and gas. So out of that 500 people in that division, would it then be discipline organized?
So it'd be,
Still, or how would it work for projects? Like, because they'd still be, I assume, doing work and doing billable, like revenue generating things.
they will be doing actually the exact same layout as you currently have at Pro. The only difference that will be happening is the fact that these employees that work within Focus will have the chance to work with medium to high value companies completely exclusively. That being said, no structural changes or needs in terms of processes, but what you're doing is you're vetting the best of the best within your own company to, as such, entice Halcyon employees not only to stay, so there's no turnover, but also to keep the current engagements that they have previously.
So would this opportunity be open to everyone in the organization, given that we're so dispersed all over the world? And what about cost analysis around them? Because you're looking at relocating people across the world, potentially joining a division.
Yeah, so it is open to everyone within your firm, and we do actually have a cost analysis in the appendix that we can show you.
How is the, like, one of the things, like, my big challenge is I've got this 500 employees coming in, and, you know, there's just adapting to the culture and, you know, being part of, you know, feeling like they're part of the organization. How